Senator Coons.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Chairman Leahy, for convening this important hearing today. Secretary Napolitano, thank you. Great to be with you again, and thank you for the very hard work that you and the Department have done within our complicated and outdated immigration system to prioritize our enforcement efforts and to make sure that we have a safer and a more just nation. There's a lot more work to be done, and much of that needs to come from our work here in Congress in passing a modern and comprehensive immigration system. It's broken. Families are torn apart. Businesses are discouraged from investing and hiring, and we're not living up to our constitutional values in how we treat families of all kinds, including LGBT families, and in how we treat folks who are not citizens but deserve due process of some reasonable kind in this very difficult immigration experience. What we're left with is a system that's very expensive, one that's expensive for law enforcement at the federal level, the state and local level. It's expensive not just at the border but throughout the whole system. It's expensive for U.S. workers, for businesses, for taxpayers, and we can, and I hope will, do better. As you know, Secretary, one of the pillars of proposed comprehensive immigration reform is a path to citizenship for the millions of undocumented living here in the United States today. Under current law, what is the path to citizenship for someone who's currently undocumented but living in the United States? Is there a line for them to get on?
Not really, no. If they're here illegally and leave and try to re-enter the country, that's one circumstance. But we look at prior removals, prior deports as a barrier.
And if someone is able to get onto the current wait lists for a green card based, say, on a family connection, a relationship to a U.S. citizen, what are the requirements they would then have to meet to at some point have a shot at becoming a U.S. citizen?
They're extensive and they are very lengthy. And I think the point of looking at the immigration system as a whole, Senator, is for those in the country right now who are here illegally, to have a pathway to earn citizenship, to pay a fee, pay a penalty, learn English, take American civics, and then get in the back of the line.
In the context of comprehensive immigration reform, there's been some discussion about equality, equal treatment of LGBT Americans being a divisive issue or a side issue that doesn't deserve the kind of focus that it may get in this deliberation. I just want to thank you for what you've done administratively to recognize the special circumstances faced by families with LGBT members, but you can't build a family on deferred action. Could I get some commitment that you will cease deportations of same-sex partners of Americans who would otherwise be eligible based on status?
Cannot get a categorical answer there because of DOMA. And we are charged with enforcing DOMA as well.
Well, I look forward to continuing to work with some of my colleagues who are co-sponsoring legislation to repeal DOMA. And I'd like to ask about the implementation of the consequence delivery system that DHS uses, including the Alien Transfer Exit Program. It's a program that takes families who've entered one sector of the border, say California, for example, and separates the members of that family by deporting some members along other places, Arizona or Texas or elsewhere. In implementing this process, how does the Department ensure it doesn't harm or in any way victimize asylum seekers or vulnerable women or children? And does this system allow for an officer's discretion in how they assign consequences for a particular immigrant and whether it might result in a family disruption or in health, safety, or life risk?
We obviously, those who are seeking asylum, there's a separate process for those who are requesting asylum. But we have found that one of the deterrents for repeated illegal immigration is to make sure that there is some consequence for every illegal immigrant that we apprehend at the border. And that's the so-called consequence delivery system, one part of which can be the lateral movement across the border before the actual deport.
One of our highest objectives, I would think, in the enforcement actions taken by the Department is to focus on removing those who pose a threat to our community, criminals, violent criminals in particular. And the policy you're now following under deferred action for childhood arrivals has meant that many young people, the so-called DREAM Act kids, no longer live in constant fear of deportation, although they have an uncertain future, which I hope we will be addressing through legislation. And these young people continue to contribute to our country. From the perspective of the department, could you tell me if this policy, this deferred action for childhood arrival policy, has resulted in increased availability of department resources to focus on higher priority cases, such as identifying and removing, deporting violent criminals?
I think we can say that, yes, it does, but more importantly, I think the Deferred Action Program is consistent with our values as a country and our recognition that these young people are not to blame for being in the country.
Well, thank you. And Madam Secretary, as somebody who, as Attorney General, as Governor, and as Secretary, has tackled what are very difficult issues, trying to make sure that we square our core values with what is a very political and a difficult situation. I just want to thank you for your personal leadership, and look forward to continuing to work with you on this.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you.